The steady hum of the ship's engines was the only sound on the bridge as Captain Laura Hayes stared at the massive structure floating in the darkness of space. It was unlike anything she had ever seen before, a colossal sphere made of what looked like liquid metal, reflecting the distant stars like a perfect mirror. The structure had no visible openings, no signs of how to enter it, and no indication of who had built it. "Any response to our signals?" Laura asked, breaking the silence. Communications Officer Ben Carter shook his head. "Nothing, Captain. It's not even absorbing our signals. They're just bouncing back." Laura drummed her fingers on the arm of her chair. The deep space exploration vessel Horizon had been mapping this sector for 3 months when they detected the unusual energy signature. No one expected to find an artificial structure this far from known space. "What do you think, Dr. Brooks?" Laura turned to her science officer. Alan Brooks hadn't taken his eyes off his instruments since they arrived. His face was lit by the blue glow of his screen, making his expression look almost ghostly. "It's old, Captain, very old. The dust patterns suggest it's been here for at least 50,000 years, maybe more." Laura stood up and walked closer to the main view screen. The Horizon was humanity's most advanced exploration vessel, sent to push the boundaries of known space. They had expected to find new planets, maybe even signs of simple life. But this was different. This was evidence of an advanced civilization, one that had reached this remote sector of space long before humans had even learned to make fire. "I want to know what's inside," she said finally. "Prepare a probe." The crew moved quickly, their training kicking in despite their awe. Within minutes, a small probe was launched toward the sphere. As it approached, something unexpected happened. A section of the sphere's surface rippled like water, creating an opening just large enough for the probe to enter. "It recognized the probe," Alan said, his voice rising with excitement. "It's responding to technology." The probe's camera showed a vast interior space, filled with what looked like floating columns of light. Each column contained swirling patterns that changed and shifted as the probe moved past them. "It's a database," Alan whispered after studying the imagery for several minutes. "A massive data storage facility." For the next 3 days, the crew worked around the clock trying to understand the alien database. The ship's powerful computers struggled to decode the information, but gradually patterns began to emerge. Alan and his science team discovered that the columns were organized by star systems, containing detailed information about planets, species, and civilizations across the galaxy. "I think I found us," Alan said on the 4th day, calling Laura to the science lab. He pointed to a small section of decoded data. "This appears to be information about our solar system. It has details about Earth that match our geological records perfectly." Laura leaned closer. "Can you translate what it says about us?" Alan nodded slowly, his expression troubled. "That's the strange part. There's a classification tag attached to Earth. Our best translation is, 'Not worth the risk.'" "What does that mean?" Laura asked. "I don't know yet. But look at this." Alan brought up a comparative chart. "We've translated enough to understand their danger classification system. Earth has been given a warning level that exceeds even predatory species and hostile environments." The discovery sent a chill through the ship. Why would an advanced alien civilization consider Earth so dangerous? Humans had never ventured this far into space before the Horizon mission. As far as they knew, humanity had never made contact with alien life. Officer Carter's voice came over the comm system, interrupting their thoughts. "Captain, we're picking up energy signatures. 3 vessels approaching from Sector 7. Laura." Raced back to the bridge. On the view screen, 3 ships appeared, their designs unlike anything in human records. They were angular, with sections that seemed to phase in and out of visibility, making it hard to judge their true size. "They're not responding to standard greeting protocols," Carter reported, "but they're definitely scanning us." "Are they scanning the sphere too?" Laura asked. "No, just us. I think they were already coming here. We just happened to be here when they arrived." Laura made a quick decision. "Keep downloading whatever data we can from the sphere. Focus on information about Earth and these ships if possible, but prepare for emergency departure. If they show any hostile intent, we leave immediately. In the science lab, Alan and his team worked frantically. The alien data was vast and they had barely scratched the surface. They focused on retrieving information about Earth's classification and any data about first contact protocols. As the alien ships drew closer, a partial translation appeared on Alan's screen. He read it aloud to the team. Earth species demonstrates unpredictable behavioral patterns and extreme territorial response. Initial contact resulted in complete loss of survey team despite minimal technological development. Recommendation: continued quarantine status. They've been watching us, whispered Linda Green, one of the junior scientists. For thousands of years. Alan continued reading. Species shows unusual ability to adapt to hostile conditions and repurpose technologies in ways not intended by designers. Combined with territorial instinct, presents unacceptable risk factor for standard integration protocols. The information was disturbing, suggesting that humans had been judged and found wanting by a galactic community they never knew existed. Before they could process this, the ship's alarm sounded. All hands prepare for potential first contact. Laura's voice came over the intercom. Science team, secure all data and report to the bridge. The 3 alien ships had taken position around the sphere, forming a triangle with the horizon at the center. There was no aggressive movement, but their positioning left no doubt that they were blocking any attempt to leave. As Alan arrived on the bridge, the main view screen flickered. The image of a being appeared, humanoid but clearly not human, with silvery skin and large multifaceted eyes. It spoke, and to everyone's surprise, the ship's computer immediately began translating. Human vessel, the being said, its voice, oddly melodic through the translator. You have accessed restricted historical archives. Identify your purpose. Laura stepped forward, her training taking over despite her racing heart. I am Captain Laura Hayes of the Earth vessel Horizon. We are explorers seeking knowledge and peaceful contact with other civilizations. The alien's expression was unreadable. Earth, it said simply. The warning label remains active in our records. Your presence here is unexpected. The crew of the Horizon held their breath, waiting to see what would happen next. They had come looking for new worlds and scientific discoveries. Instead, they had found out that Earth itself was considered too dangerous to contact by a galactic civilization that had been watching them all along. The tension on the bridge of the Horizon was thick enough to cut with a knife. Every crew member stood frozen, watching the alien on the view screen. Its silvery skin reflected the lights from its own ship, creating an almost hypnotic effect. We are the Vericans, the alien said. I am Ambassador Krell, representative of the Galactic Confederation. Your presence at this historical archive was unexpected. Laura took a deep breath. This was what humanity had dreamed of for centuries. First contact with an intelligent alien species. But not like this. Not with Earth already labeled as dangerous. We are peaceful explorers, Laura said carefully. We had no knowledge of this archive or your confederation before today. Krell's large eyes blinked slowly. That is consistent with quarantine protocols. Permission to come aboard your vessel? It would be more efficient to continue this conversation in person. Laura exchanged glances with her security chief, Officer Steve Duncan, who gave a small nod. Permission granted, Laura replied. We will prepare a docking area. 30 minutes later, Ambassador Krell and 2 other Vericans stood in the Horizon's conference room. Up close, they were even more alien, standing nearly 7 feet tall with 4-fingered hands and skin that seemed to shift colors slightly with their movements. Your ship is primitive by Confederation standards, Krell observed, but impressive for a species at your technological level. Alan leaned forward. You've been monitoring us? From a distance, yes. It is standard protocol for quarantined worlds. Krell gestured and a holographic display appeared in the center of the table. It showed a timeline of human history, with certain events highlighted. Earth was first discovered by Confederation scouts over 12,000 of your years ago. Initial contact was attempted with early human settlements. Laura watched as the hologram showed images of what appeared to be ancient human cities. "What happened?" she asked. Krell's skin darkened slightly. "The contact team was lost. All members killed. It was unexpected. Humans were technologically primitive, but demonstrated unusual territorial responses and adaptive thinking that made them unpredictable." The crew exchanged uncomfortable glances. "Are you saying early humans killed your contact team?" "How?" "They would have had spears at best, while your people had spaceships," Officer Duncan said skeptically. "That is precisely what made humans concerning." One of the other Vericans spoke for the first time. "We are Historian Trell. I specialize in quarantined species. Your ancestors used simple tools in ways our contact team could not predict. They adapted faster than any species we had encountered." Laura tried to process this information. "So you've been watching us for 12,000 years? Why not attempt contact again as we developed?" Krell brought up more images on the hologram: wars, weapons, environmental damage. "Your species continued to show concerning patterns. You create weapons before you create medicines. You fight among yourselves, constantly. And most troubling, you adapt technologies for warfare in ways their creators never intended." Alan spoke up. "But that's changing. Look at our recent history. International cooperation, space exploration focused on knowledge rather than conquest. Some on the Confederation Council have noted these developments," Krell admitted. "There have been periodic debates about your status. Earth's classification has been reviewed 7 times in the last century alone, and," Laura pressed, "and each time the decision was to maintain quarantine," Historian Trell said. "Though the vote has grown closer each time." The third Verican, who had been silent until now, stepped forward. "I am Security Specialist Vrel. I must ask about your intentions now that you have discovered the archive and our existence." Laura considered her words carefully. The future of Earth-alien relations might depend on what she said next. "We want to learn. To understand our place in the galaxy. To prove that humans have grown beyond whatever caused our original classification." Vrel's expression remained unreadable. "That is what all quarantined species say when they discover the truth." "How many others are there, quarantined like us?" Alan asked. "Currently 17 species are under observation," Krell answered. "Only 3 have the same risk classification as humans." "And what exactly is our classification?" Laura asked. The 3 Vericans exchanged looks. Finally, Krell spoke. "The official designation translates roughly to dangerously adaptive, potential extinction level threat to stability." A stunned silence fell over the room. "That's ridiculous," Ben Carter finally said. "We've never even left our own solar system before this mission." "It is not your technology that concerns the Confederation," Historian Trell explained. "It is your nature. When threatened or challenged, humans demonstrate capabilities beyond what baseline assessments would predict." Laura thought about human history, about how people had survived ice ages, plagues, and disasters, about how quickly humans had gone, from the first airplane to landing on the moon. "What happens now?" she asked. "Now that we've met, you can't just put us back in our box." Krell nodded. "Correct. We must return to the Confederation Council with news of this encounter. They will debate your status again." "We want to speak to this council," Laura said firmly. "If you're going to judge us, we deserve a chance to represent ourselves." The Vericans conferred among themselves in their own language, speaking too quickly for the translation systems to follow. "Such a request is unprecedented," Krell finally said. "But the situation itself is unprecedented. The council meets in 47 of your days. We will convey your request." In the meantime, Security Specialist Vrel added, "We must restrict your access to the archive. The information there spans millions of worlds and billions of years. Much of it would be problematic in human hands." Laura felt a flash of irritation but controlled it. "We understand. But we've already downloaded some data about Earth. We'd like to keep that, at least. Another conference among the Vericans followed. You may retain information directly related to Earth's classification and history with the Confederation, Krell decided, as a gesture of good faith. As the meeting concluded, Historian Trell approached Laura privately. Captain Hayes, there is something you should know. Not all members of the Confederation agree with Earth's classification. Some of us believe isolation has been a mistake. Why are you telling me this? Laura asked. Because in 47 days, the Council will vote again on Earth's status, and this time with actual humans present, the debate will be contentious. Trell's voice lowered. Some will argue that your discovery of us proves humans should remain quarantined. Others will push for integration. Still others will advocate for more permanent solutions. Permanent solutions? Laura felt a chill run down her spine. Not all council members believe coexistence is possible, Trell said simply. Prepare your case carefully, Captain. The future of your species may depend on it. As the Vericans departed, Laura gathered her senior officers. Set course for Earth, she ordered. Maximum speed. We have 47 days to prepare humanity for the fact that we're not alone in the universe, and that our new neighbors aren't sure if we should be allowed to exist. The return journey to Earth took 16 days at maximum speed. For Captain Laura Hayes, each passing hour felt heavier than the last. How do you tell humanity that not only are we not alone in the universe, but some aliens think we're too dangerous to exist? We need a plan, Laura said to her senior staff gathered in the ship's conference room. In 31 days, we face a council that will judge our entire species. We can't mess this up. Alan Brooks pulled up the data they had retrieved from the archive. I've been studying the information about the 3 other species with our same classification. There might be clues about what the Confederation fears. The view screen showed strange creatures from distant worlds. One looked like a mass of writhing tentacles, another resembled an insect with too many legs, and the third was surprisingly humanoid but with skin like rough tree bark. The common thread seems to be adaptability and aggression when threatened, Alan explained. All 3 species developed faster than expected, repurposed technology in unpredictable ways, and showed what the Confederation calls concerning expansion patterns. Officer Ben Carter laughed without humor. So basically, they don't like survivors. It's more than that, Dr. Linda Green spoke up. She had been quiet since the meeting with the Vericans, spending most of her time analyzing the psychological data. The Confederation values predictability and stability. Species that change quickly or adapt unexpectedly disrupt their models. Laura nodded slowly. So we need to convince them that we've grown beyond our unpredictable phase, that we can be trusted partners. But have we? Security Chief Steve Duncan asked bluntly. Look at our history. Look at how we still fight among ourselves. If I were them, I'd be worried too. A heavy silence fell over the room. Then we focus on our progress, Laura decided. On the ways we've learned to cooperate, to use our adaptability for good. We show them the best of humanity. The Horizon reached Earth, orbit on the 17th day. Within hours, the ship was surrounded by military vessels from every major Earth power. The news of alien contact had caused global panic and excitement in equal measure. Laura was immediately summoned to United Earth Command headquarters in Geneva. There she found herself in a room with the 12 most powerful leaders on the planet. Let me understand this correctly, said Director Paul Grant of United Earth Command. He was a tall man with a weathered face and cold eyes. In 30 days, representatives from this Galactic Confederation will arrive to decide if humans deserve to join their club, or if we need to be contained like a virus. Or worse, Laura added quietly. Some factions believe we should be eliminated. Entirely. The room erupted in angry voices. Calls for military preparation, for building defenses, for showing strength. We can't fight them, Laura said, raising her voice above the din. Their technology is thousands of years beyond ours, and proving them right about our aggressive nature won't help. What do you suggest then, Captain? Asked Sonia Mitchell, the African Union president. Unlike Director Grant, she seemed genuinely interested in Laura's opinion. We need to prepare our case carefully, show them we've changed from whatever they saw 12,000 years ago. Demonstrate that our adaptability can be an asset to their confederation, not a threat. Director Grant scoffed. You want us to beg for acceptance? I want us to survive, Laura replied firmly, and maybe even thrive. After hours of debate, a plan formed. Earth would assemble a delegation of its best and brightest, scientists, diplomats, artists, and thinkers who represented the pinnacle of human achievement and cooperation. They would prepare a case for humanity's inclusion in the galactic community. Dr. Frank Scott, Earth's leading xenopsychologist, was brought in to help understand the alien mindset. Despite having never met an actual alien before, his theoretical work on non-human psychology had been groundbreaking. We need to understand what they value, Frank explained to the assembled delegates a week later. Based on Captain Hayes's report, the Confederation prioritizes stability, predictability, and controlled growth. We need to show that we can operate within those parameters without losing what makes us human. The preparation was intense. Every delegate had to learn about Verican culture and Confederation protocols from the limited data the Horizon had brought back. They practiced first contact scenarios, diplomatic responses, and how to present human history in the most favorable light. Meanwhile, the world held its breath. Religious groups proclaimed the end times or divine revelation. Stock markets fluctuated wildly. Militaries went on high alert despite orders to stand down. 26 days after the Horizon's return, a small fleet of Confederation ships appeared, in orbit. Unlike the Verican's vessels, these were massive, capital ships that dwarfed Earth's largest aircraft carriers. Ambassador Krell returned, this time with a delegation of 15 different alien species, each more strange than the last. Some floated in personal atmosphere bubbles. Others moved on multiple legs or glided on platforms. One appeared to be made entirely of shifting crystal. The Confederation Council has agreed to hear Earth's case, Krell announced. This is unprecedented. You should understand the significance. The meeting was set for a neutral location, an orbital platform constructed by the aliens in just 3 days. It would house both human and alien representatives during the deliberations. The night before the council session, Laura couldn't sleep. She stood by the viewing port of her quarters on the platform, looking down at Earth, glowing blue and green. Below, beautiful, isn't it? A voice said behind her. Laura turned to find Historian Trell standing in the doorway. I didn't hear you come in? Laura said, surprised. We Vericans move quietly when needed, Trell replied. I came to warn you. The council session tomorrow will be difficult. Several factions have already decided against Earth. Why are you helping us? Laura asked. Trell moved to stand beside her at the window. Because I have studied your species for 300 years. I have watched you grow, suffer, learn, and reach for the stars. I believe the Confederation needs species like yours. Ones that challenge our assumptions and push boundaries. What should we expect tomorrow? Questions about your worst moments, about wars and weapons and why you create so many of both, about how quickly you adopt new technologies and how unpredictable your societies can be. Trell's large eyes reflected the Earth below. They will try to provoke emotional responses to prove you cannot control yourselves. Laura processed this information. So we need to stay calm no matter what. Show we can be diplomatic even when provoked. Yes, but you also need to show what makes humans special, why the galaxy would be better with you in it than without you. Trell moved toward the door. Remember, Captain Hayes, the vote will be close. Every impression matters. As Trell left, Laura turned back to the window. Tomorrow, humanity would face its biggest test. Their future in the stars hung in the balance. What could she possibly say to convince an alien council that humans deserved a chance? The council chamber was a perfect circle with tiered seating rising around a central platform. Laura stood on this platform with Dr. Frank Scott and Director Grant representing Earth. The human delegation sat behind them, watching nervously as aliens of all shapes and sizes filed into the chamber. Remember, Frank whispered, stay calm no matter what they say or do. A tone rang through the chamber and Ambassador Krell stepped forward. The Galactic Confederation Council is now in session, Krell announced. Today we address the status of Sol 3 designated Earth, previously under quarantine classification. A large alien that looked like a collection of gas clouds contained in a metal frame floated forward. Its voice came through the translation devices as deep and rumbling. I am High Counselor Zeph of the Vaporians. I will oversee these proceedings. The gas within the frame swirled faster. Let us begin with the case for maintaining quarantine. Status. A thin alien with 6 arms and skin like polished bronze stood. I am Counselor Drav of the Makatri Dominion. The case is simple. Humans are unpredictable, aggressive, and multiply rapidly. Their technology advances in sporadic bursts rather than controlled development. They are a destabilizing force waiting to happen. Images appeared in the air around the chamber, scenes of human wars, environmental destruction, and weapons tests. In the short time since they developed nuclear capabilities, they have nearly used them for planetary suicide multiple times, Drav continued. They deplete resources at an alarming rate, and have yet to solve basic problems of governance on their own world. Laura felt her face grow hot with anger but kept her expression neutral. Frank had warned her about this. They would show humanity's worst moments. Next, a creature that looked like a giant jellyfish with dozens of tendrils spoke. I am Counselor Plex of the Hydron Collective. Beyond their physical actions, humans possess concerning psychological traits. They form tight bonds within small groups but can dehumanize those outside their group. They are capable of both extraordinary compassion and shocking cruelty, sometimes toward the same subjects. More images appeared. Refugees being turned away at borders, protests being suppressed but also rescue workers saving strangers and people donating to distant causes. Their unpredictability makes them dangerous, Plex concluded. The quarantine was established for good reason. Several other council members spoke in turn, each highlighting different concerns about humanity. Some focused on biological factors, how humans could adapt to almost any environment. Others worried about cultural contamination, how human ideas might spread through the Confederation. Finally, it was Earth's turn to speak. Frank stepped forward first. Honored council members, I am Dr. Frank Scott, xenopsychologist. I understand your concerns about human nature. Yes, we can be unpredictable. Yes, we form strong tribal bonds. Yes, we sometimes act with emotion rather than logic. He paused, letting his words sink in. But these traits are not bugs in our system. They are features. Our adaptability has allowed us to survive in environments from Arctic ice to burning deserts. Our emotional connections drive us to create art, music, and literature that help us understand ourselves and others. Laura stepped forward next. I am Captain Laura Hayes. I discovered your archive by accident, but that discovery has changed our understanding of our place in the universe. You fear our unpredictability, but consider this. When faced with the knowledge that a vastly superior power has been watching us for thousands of years, did we react with fear and aggression? No. We came here to talk. Director Grant, who had been skeptical of this diplomatic approach, surprised Laura by speaking passionately. I lead Earth's defense forces. In my position, it would be easy to see threats everywhere. But I've learned that true security comes not from isolation but from connection. Humanity has made terrible mistakes. We've hurt each other and our planet. But we learn, we grow, we're better together than apart. The council chamber was silent for a moment. Then a small, hunched alien with skin like tree bark moved forward. I am Counselor Aram of the Treven Worlds. I note that humans speak of growth and learning, yet their history shows cycles of the same mistakes. How do you answer this? Laura considered her response carefully. We don't claim to be perfect. We only claim to be trying. Each generation builds on the knowledge of those who came before. We make new mistakes, but we also solve old problems. The questions continued for hours. Some counselors seemed genuinely curious, others clearly hostile. The human delegation answered as best they could, showing examples of cooperation, scientific advancement, and cultural expression. As the session neared its end, a counselor who had not yet spoken rose. It was tall and insectoid, with compound eyes that reflected the light in rainbow patterns. I am Counselor Vrix of the Kalish Hive. I have one final question. If accepted into the Confederation, what would humans contribute that we do not already have? Laura looked at Frank, who nodded slightly. This was the question they had prepared for. Perspective, Laura said simply. We offer a different way of seeing the universe. You value stability and predictability. We value exploration and innovation. Both approaches have merit. Together, they could be powerful. She took a step forward. The very traits that concern you, our adaptability, our emotional connections, our drive to overcome limitations, these can strengthen the Confederation, not weaken it. The insectoid counselor's antennae twitched. An interesting answer, but words are easily spoken. How can we trust that humans will not disrupt the harmony we have maintained for millennia? Before Laura could respond, alarms blared throughout the station. A Verican officer rushed into the chamber. High Counselor, we have an emergency. 3 ships have broken away from Earth's defense fleet and are approaching the Council vessels. With weapons charged, the chamber erupted in angry murmurs. Laura felt her heart sink. This was exactly what they had feared. Someone on Earth taking matters into their own hands. Director Grant grabbed a communication device. This is Director Paul Grant of United Earth Command. Who are those ships? They are not acting under my orders. The response came through clearly for all to hear. This is General Carl Warner. The aliens have judged us long enough. We're not going to sit here and let them decide if we deserve to exist. We're taking action before they can. Laura watched in horror as the council members looked at each other. Everything they had worked for was unraveling in seconds. See? Counselor Drav said triumphantly. This is exactly the unpredictable aggression we feared. The quarantine must not only be maintained, but strengthened. High Counselor Zeph's gas. Cloud darkened. It seems our deliberations may be cut short by human action. Perhaps the original assessment was correct after all. Laura knew she had only moments to salvage the situation, but what could she possibly say now? Laura stepped forward, her mind racing. This moment would define humanity's place in the cosmos. High Counselor, members of the Confederation, she said, her voice steady despite her racing heart. I ask you to look not at those 3 ships, but at the hundreds that remain in formation. I ask you to wait before judging us all by the actions of a few. Director Grant was already barking orders into his communicator. This is a direct order. To stand down immediately. Any ship that fires on the Confederation vessels will be considered hostile to Earth itself. On the main screen, they could see the 3 rogue ships still approaching, weapons hot. Your words mean nothing if your own people will not obey, Counselor Drav said with clear disdain. Then judge us by our actions, Laura replied. She turned to the communications officer. Open a channel to all Earth ships. When the channel was open, Laura spoke clearly. This is Captain Laura Hayes to all Earth Defense Forces. The Confederation is not our enemy. They are here to determine if we're ready to join a galactic community. Anyone who attacks them proves we are not. I am asking, no, I am begging. Stand down. For several tense moments, nothing happened. Then one of the rogue ships powered down its weapons. A second followed. But the third kept coming. General Warner! Director Grant's voice boomed across the channel. This is your final warning. Power down or be fired upon. They'll destroy us anyway, Warner's voice replied. You're just too blind to see it. Without warning, several Earth vessels moved to intercept Warner's ship. They positioned themselves between the rogue vessel and the Confederation fleet. We will not allow you to decide humanity's fate, came a new voice. This is Captain Sam Wilson of the EDS Guardian. General Warner, we are prepared to take your fire rather than let you condemn our species. The council chamber was silent as everyone watched the drama unfold on the screens. Warner's ship slowed, then finally powered down its weapons. Most interesting, said the insectoid counselor Vrix, antennae twitching rapidly. Your people were willing to risk themselves to protect us, even though we are strangers who hold your fate in our hands. That is humanity, Laura said quietly. For every person who acts out of fear, there are more who will stand for what's right. We're not perfect. We make mistakes. But when it matters most, we try to be better than our worst instincts. High Counselor Zeph's gas cloud shifted colors. This incident demonstrates both the concern we have about humans and, perhaps, something else as well. The counselor turned to address the full chamber. We must deliberate on what we have seen. Today, the Earth delegation was asked to leave while the council voted. They waited in a small antechamber, the tension almost unbearable. They're going to vote against us, Director Grant said grimly. Warner gave them exactly the excuse they needed. Frank shook his head. I'm not so sure. Did you notice how Counselor Vrix reacted? I think we might have shown them something they didn't expect. Before they could discuss further, they were called back into the chamber. The council members had taken their positions, their expressions unreadable to human eyes. High Counselor Zeph floated forward. After consideration of all evidence, including recent events, the council has reached a decision regarding Earth's status. Laura held her breath. By a margin of 1 vote, Zeph continued, the council has decided to modify Earth's classification from quarantine extreme risk to provisional contact status. Murmurs ran through both the human delegation and council members. This does not grant full integration into the Confederation, Zeph clarified. Rather, it begins a period of limited cultural and technological exchange under strict supervision. Earth must demonstrate continued growth and stability before full membership can be considered. It wasn't everything they had hoped for, but it was far better than continued isolation or worse. Laura felt a wave of relief wash over her. Counselor Vrix stepped forward. I cast the deciding vote. Your response to crisis interested me. Your people were willing to risk themselves to prevent harm to those unlike them. This suggests potential, beyond what our initial assessments indicated. Historian Trell approached Laura after the formal announcement. It is a beginning, Captain Hayes. Many worlds began with provisional status and are now valued members of the Confederation. What happens now? Laura asked. We will establish an embassy on your world. Limited technology transfers will begin, mostly medical and environmental restoration capabilities. In return, we ask for cultural exchange and regular council observation. How long until full membership? Director Grant asked. Trell's expression shifted in what Laura had come to recognize as the Verican equivalent of a smile. That depends entirely on you. Show us that your unpredictability and adaptability can be assets rather than threats. Prove that humans can grow beyond your historical patterns. As they prepared to return to Earth with the news, Ambassador Krell approached Laura with a data crystal. The Council has authorized me to share this with you, Krell said. It contains the full record of our first contact with humans. Laura accepted it carefully. Thank you. This will help us understand what went wrong. Perhaps it will help us all understand, Krell replied. I have served the Confederation for 300 years, Captain Hayes. In that time, I have seen many species come and go. Some flourished, others destroyed themselves. And what do you think will happen to us? Laura asked. Krell was silent for a moment. I believe humans will either become the Confederation's greatest asset or its greatest regret. There will be no middle ground with your kind. As their ship descended toward Earth, Laura watched the blue-green planet grow larger in the viewport. The news of the Council's decision had already reached world leaders. Celebrations were breaking out across the globe. We got lucky, Director Grant said, standing beside her. One vote made the difference. It wasn't luck, Laura replied. It was who we chose to be when it mattered most. We showed them our best selves. Below them, Earth turned slowly, no longer alone in the cosmos. The warning label that had kept them isolated for 12,000 years had been modified, not removed, not yet, but changed. Not worth the risk had become, approach with caution. It was a start. And for a species that had gone from stone tools to space travel in the blink of a cosmic eye, sometimes a start was all they needed. As they entered the atmosphere, Laura thought about what would come next. The challenges of integrating alien knowledge and technology, the debates about how much to change and how much to preserve, the hard work of proving day after day that humanity deserved its place among the stars. It wouldn't be easy. But then again, the best things never were.